dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Library Podcast. Today's episode is on Thomas Pynchon's 2025 novel, Shadow Ticket. That's right, folks, we're doing a timely episode, as in this book actually came out this year. We're joined by professor, author, and Pynchon expert TJ Martinson, who I'm really happy we got to have TJ on. It's a great episode, and we get into the book's supernatural themes, its playfulness, as well as its political seriousness, and its unique position as Pynchon's most recent, but possibly, if the rumors are true, not the last book. We hope you're enjoying a relaxing holiday with your friends and family, and this episode brings a little joy to this odd purgatorial time of the year, when it's post-Christmas, but not quite the new year. As always, we hope you enjoy the conversation. Welcome back to the Infinite Library Podcast, dear listeners. I'm your host, Ben.
I'm your host, John, or as some are calling me these days, the Al Capone of books.
Yes, and we're here with a special timely dispatch on Thomas Pynchon's 2025 novel, Shadow Ticket, and we're really happy to welcome to the show a author, a professor, and a general rascal, TJ Martinson.
What's up? Thanks for having me. This is fun.
TJ, welcome.
Yeah. This is good for everybody. Like, my wife sends her thanks that I get an outlet to talk about Pynchon with people that are not her.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted this to have
out.
Yeah, like a boys' club atmosphere.
Yeah,
all talking about Pynchon.
Yeah.
So I thought we should start before we get into the book. TJ, this is perfect. If you'd mind sharing, what is your history with Thomas Pynchon? How did you get into him? What was it like? What sparked your interest in him?
Yeah, I mean, Pynchon's like my favorite writer, period.
Hell yeah.
In college, I went into college like super into like the beats and the beatniks like Kerouac and Ginsberg and stuff. And then like in my American literature survey course in that Norton anthology, I was just like flipping through it and I came across Pynchon. And I think a lot of people have this experience with Pynchon, but like I came to his biography first. And like, I think the first line of like that Norton anthology biography was like, Thomas Pynchon is the most reclusive author in American history. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then the story that they had in that one was Entropy.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that just like blew my mind. Like it tickled the part of my brain that like the beatnik sort of stream of consciousness stuff did, but there was like actually substance to what he was doing, unlike Kerouac. And yeah, then it was like off to the races. I got Gravity's Rainbow. That was the first novel of his I tried to read.
Yeah, that's a theme actually recently on our Pynchon episodes is people trying to read Gravity's Rainbow and then coming back to it later. So
yeah, that I've never met anyone that just like sat down and read Gravity's Rainbow. It takes like several running starts. And then I remember like the first night I was reading it, my roommate was like, what's that book about? And I was like on page 3 and I was like, I think it's like zombies or something.
Yeah, like everyone's staggering around outside, like where they're like evacuating. Yeah.
I was like, I think there's like a zombie apocalypse or something. It's really cool. But yeah, I fell in love with him right away.
That unlocked a memory where I remember I was reading one of the sections of Gravity's Rainbow at my desk job freshman year of college, and somebody was like, what is that book about? I'm like, I think this part is from the perspective of a pedophile. And the person at the desk was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just reading. Yeah, so.
Don't shoot the messenger, man, you asked.
But,
yeah, dude. And so like, yeah, I think the first novel I like really read was like Crying of Lot 49.
Sick, okay.
And then I finally got around to Gravity's Rainbow, and like, I mean, it's obviously a masterpiece. And then I mean, like the reason I went to grad school at all, like I went to a master's program just so I could like write about Pynchon. And like,
Hell yeah.
And like people would have to talk about Pynchon with me because, you know, they were my advisors. And so I wrote on like, my thesis was on Gravity's Rainbow and V. And then in the PhD program, I still wanted to do Pynchon, but like by that point, I was kind of like, I would rather just like enjoy Pynchon. I don't want to make him my life. I like him too much to do that.
That's a good move. And I remember I knew somebody in undergrad who was like, my friend has took 8 years to write his Gravity's Rainbow dissertation.
Oh,
so
dude, I do not envy that at all.
Yeah.
And like Pynchon scholars are weird too. Like they're just weird people, obviously. Yeah, I think they're all kind of miserable.
Becoming a scholar of like a living author is always like a risky proposition.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You never know what's gonna come down the pipes.
For real. Yeah, all those McCarthy scholars right now.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of like pulling their collar. Yeah.
And they all went into hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TJ, your anecdote about someone asking you what Gravity's Rainbow is about actually gave me an interesting thought, because I have had several people over the course of the last 2 weeks ask me what Shadow Ticket is about.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself surprisingly kind of struggling to give a concise answer, despite originally thinking this is going to be a more straightforward, as straightforward as Pynchon can get.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are. Which Pynchon do you think is easiest to give like a maybe not a plot summary, but like, back of the book blurb to like someone who's totally unfamiliar with Pynchon? I'd say Inherent Vice.
Yeah, I would agree. That's because that's a, he has his detective novels, and some of them like this one just devolve completely. I mean, he does that thing like you expect a detective novel to sort of like the inverted triangle thing of like there's a lot, and then they sort of winnie it down and narrow things, whereas Pynchon just inverts the inverted triangle, where it starts kind of like straightforward, like, hey, you have to go find this person, and then they're in Hungary and all this crazy stuff. But yeah, I think Inherent Vice is a good one for that.
This is probably why it's the one that's been adapted into a fairly successful movie, and unlike most of them.
Well, and then like the Vineland adaptation, cut off all the weird stuff in one battle after another. I also feel like Crying a Lot 49 is weirdly similar to these detective books and is also good to summarize. But I think too, if I was going to recommend that to somebody to read it, it's also like kind of hard to read. Like I remember I gave a copy to somebody and I saw them read the first paragraph because they like read it in front of me. And there's a bit like, these are the things that did not happen. And I saw him just go like this, like as he's reading it. And I'm like, oh, he's not going to finish this, is he? like I just saw like the shadow pass over his face as he was like reading the first paragraph. So
I also feel like Crying of Lot 49 almost maybe a little paradoxically is the one where you can just be like, it's about a lady like discovering a conspiracy. In a way that like, even though like all Pynchon's books are in some way about conspiracy, a lot of them are in ways where it's kind of hard to be like, oh, it's like a conspiracy book.
Crying of Lot 49 is sort of like the, it's like his prototypical novel. Like everything kind of stems from like the structure of that novel. Yeah. I mean, but the fun thing about Pynchon, like if anyone asks like what any of his books are about, like you give them like a faithful summary, it sounds like you're describing like a 7-year-old boy's idea for a novel. Like it's just insane. Like for Shadow Ticket, like I have a friend from the Czech Republic, and I sent him a picture of the text, like where there's the Gollum who's like in a love triangle with like a robot and a priest. And I sent it to him because it uses the word robotka in Czech. And I saw him last night, and he was like, why did you send me that? Like, what is that? And I was like, no, it's really cool. The Gollum is also a robot with a machine gun arm. And he's like,
is that also the bit where like one of the characters like interrupts that thing to go, we don't have time for this?
Yeah.
And
I was like, yeah, it's like this Gollum with the robot arm, but it's also about like, history's dialectics. He lost instant respect for me.
Just like shaking his head. Yeah. Well, that's worth bringing up, and like maybe it's a way to ease into talking about it is like I feel like once you realize that a lot of like the detective and like adventure stuff is like Pynchon sort of like not writing as a 7-year-old boy, but just like, man, it would be cool if I just wrote like a detective novel or like an adventure novel. And I think like Shadow Ticket has that kind of element of like, first it's like a hard-boiled noir, and then it just becomes like an espionage thriller in the back half. And there's a kind of just like Pynchon just writing stuff that he enjoyed as a younger person. And I think that creeps in towards like the later books that he's done. So
yeah, I think that's right.
I found myself thinking a lot about the fact that like this book is set like a couple years before he was born.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of thinking about like the way that, you know, TJ, I don't know how old you are, but I know, Ben, you and I were born like about the same year. And I was thinking kind of the relationship like we have to like pop culture of like the late 80s and like the early 90s.
Yeah.
And kind of the way that like I'm guessing that informs a lot more of our like taste than we even can realize. And I think Pynchon maybe being 88 fucking years old is maybe a little more cognizant of the way that his taste has been shaped by when he was born. But you know, it's almost kind of a power move to write something that takes place like right before you were born.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you have to imagine, like, he's 88. He's like definitely cooped up in some apartment in Manhattan, like watching black and white gangster movies. Like that has to be the genesis of this novel.
Yeah, like Cagney gets brought up, like Bela Lugosi, like which is not gangster, but like that like stars of the silver screen from that time period.
Yeah, totally. Like he's just, you know, he's an old guy and just taking in these comforts of nostalgia.
But even then, like clearly also keeping an eye on like real events. Like this is not, you know, it's a very fun book, and it's also like Pynchon, you know, can be and typically is very funny. There are some laugh out loud moments in this, but it's also like it's not just like an old guy writing like escapist fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a lot of reflection on kind of on, you know, the current state of the world. And I think trying to find those parallels between 1932, 33 and 2025.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it feels like and there was that New Yorker article that I never actually read.
You know, I was
just angry about it.
I was gonna read it, and then I didn't. Also, I read like
I was hoping you would.
Yeah, I read a different article that was a response to that. Like, and I was just like, I like this one better. I didn't read the original one.
Well,
so
you know, like my understanding of it, and I've heard some people say like this isn't necessarily true, but that the author is like, it's a generally positive review of Shadow Ticket, but they're kind of bemoaning like, oh man, like why hasn't Pynchon sort of written like a engaging with like contemporary issues more directly. And reading Shadow Ticket, I was like, if that is the thesis of that review, that's bonkers.
Right. Yeah.
Like this is like his most, I mean, Vineland was definitely like doing some post-mortem-y stuff too, but like Shadow Ticket seems like the most like sort of cultural criticism from Pynchon that we get.
Yeah, and like in the Ryan Ruby review, which we covered Ryan Ruby previously on this podcast, and I saw he had a review of it. He just was like, he's like, I feel like I see 2025 like everywhere, and he just goes down the line and talks about like the main guy is like a gig worker, and he talks about like monopolization of capital in the cheese industry, which we'll get into. It's like, you know, talking about monopolization now, and then like he even talks about the revolutionary coup, which we'll get into as a reference to what that's referring to. So like, yeah, there's parallels, I think, consciously everywhere you look, if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's even a character who's like an influencer, basically.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that there was anyone actually writing magazine articles about how to like live jazz age adventure on a budget
On a depression era budget. Yeah.
Depression era budget. That felt very, very much like this is a kind of a wink and a nod.
Yeah. Or the Rodney character like writes that book of how to lose $500,000 and bounce back. It's like self-help sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
that I can believe someone wrote in 1932 or 33.
Yeah. Well, that would have been the time to write it.
Yeah. G. Rodney Flaunch, a male flapper, I think is how he's described.
A male flapper.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. Well, I feel like we're kind of talking around the book a little bit. Ben, I know you wrote up a bit of a plot summary, just kind of to give us a little bit of grounding before we get into like the deeper dive. So do you want to provide us with your gorgeous words?
Yes. We'll see how gorgeous they are. And I don't think I can read this in 1930s radio voice, but I'll read the first sentence, and then we can discuss if I missed anything. So, Shadow Ticket tells the story of former strikebaker turned private eye Hicks McTaggart and his slow transformation from one side of history to another, from thoughtless conformity to the freedom of life on the run. Okay, I'm going to drop the voice. Opening in Milwaukee in the early 1930s on the eve of World War II, Shadow Ticket begins as a hard-boiled noir procedural in the classic Pynchonian fashion. A bunch of stuff happens whose cause the main character, and the reader for that matter, can barely discern. A bomb blows up a hooch wagon owned by a character named Stuffy Keegan, who subsequently disappears. The party girl heiress of a multi-millionaire dairy industrialist also goes missing. A new wave of federal agents, much harsher and sinister than the simple prohibition agents of the time, have set up shop in Milwaukee. At first, reluctant to accept the ticket to find the missing cheese heiress, no overseas jobs, Hicks insists to the deaf ears of his boss. An attempt on his life pushes Hicks out of comfortable Milwaukee and into the unstable ground of Eastern Europe, at which point the book metamorphosizes into a picaresque espionage thriller. Almost every character is a double agent or smuggler of some sort, and the setting flits breathlessly from the supernatural Budapest along the carnivalesque motorcycle race known as the Trans-Trianon 2000 Tour of Hungary Unredeemed, with a pit stop in Transylvania and ending in the once free state of Fiume, otherwise known as Rijeka, Croatia. By the end, Hicks realizes that there's no going back to the States, and he must accept his new expat life of responsibility towards others, symbolized by the crew of the Austro-Hungarian U-boat, the Vampire Squid, responsible for facilitating the exile of those in danger from the forces of capitalist control. In the backdrop, it's also revealed that the United States has fallen prey to a revolution over the price of milk, a revolution which spread across the entire country and led to the coup of President Roosevelt by a gang of millionaires who have installed Milwaukee's own General MacArthur as president. Thus, the book doubles down on the theme of You Can't Go Home Again, with the U-boat representing the last vestige of pre-fascist space-time anywhere in the world. The book then ends with a letter from Hicks's protege and implied father of the protagonist of another Pynchon book, Vineland, Skeet Wheeler, who expresses a desire to head out west towards California with his girlfriend in order to find new ways to be innocent, even though one character says, and which might be a good summary of the book, innocent and not guilty ain't always the same.
Wow. Well done.
I think I'll play a little radio like underneath that. So, okay, yeah. What do you? I feel like I had to cut out so much, but that was me trying to shape the overall arc of the book. So, anything to add to that?
That was pretty good,
I think
man.
You did about as good as good a job as you can. I think we should mention, technically, given the time of year it is, this is a Christmas novel.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's Christmas time, so imagine Christmas trees everywhere while this is going on, or at least for the first part.
Well, yeah, and John sent me this, but one of the best bits is when, on the attempt on his life, two elves deliver a bomb to him. And they have like some really great like comedy banter about like who's real, like if Santa's real or not. Like, and then he's just left with like a bomb. So yeah.
Ben, I think that's actually an interesting place to start with the elves, because I think something that struck me throughout the whole of the book is how many magical creatures show up in it. I was not expecting that, but this is definitely an Infinite Library certified banger, because not only do we have the Golem of Prague making a reappearance, we have another guest spot by guess who? It's Dracula.
Well, and I think he even makes the Krav Maga jiu-jitsu pun that I think Michael Chabon makes in Cavalier and Clay, because I'm pretty sure it's like the same joke, which I don't know if that was intentional or not. Yeah, because TJ, we read Cavalier and Clay, and there's a golem in that too. So
wow,
the literal golem of Prague.
yeah, not the robot golem with the gun arm. So
the Vlad the Impaler cameo in this is really splendid.
Yeah, nobody calls me Vlad the price reductionist or something. Because like he's like, if you impale people, then it costs everybody less money. It costs people less tax dollars. So
you do one genocide and everyone loses their mind.
Yes. Well, so I did want to ask, and what you guys thought about this. What do you think the supernatural gothic stuff is doing in this book? Because I have a couple of ideas, but it's definitely, like you were saying, John, the layer to this book that I found the most surprising was that there's like this patina of like magical creatures, like unseen forces, supernatural, like movement of objects we can talk about. What do you think how do you think it was working in this book? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
TJ, do you have any thoughts to start off with? I feel like I am still gathering.
It's a meaty question. I mean, there's like sometimes it almost felt like a direct nod to like the Gravity's Rainbow stuff. Like the psychical research. But like it honestly, as you described, like that patina of like the supernatural in the novel reminded me the most of Vineland. Like where all of a sudden, like in Vineland, California, there's like the population of thanatoids, like the undead, who are just like there for karmic reasons. Like it had that feel to it of just like, there's this world, and then like there's this other unseen world that's like also just kind of there and obvious. That like, I don't know what to make of it.
But there's two worlds. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, and there's a scholar, Dwight Eddins, who has a novel called The Gnostic Pynchon, and he sort of advances this argument that Pynchon's body of work is really influenced by Gnosticism, which is kind of like self-evident. But this would kind of fit into that, right? Of
definitely,
yeah. I feel like Ben, where I kind of came down on this, again, there's some interesting parallels here to V that I noticed again in terms of kind of the way that like non-human like objects are kind of given a lot of agency. They talk about things kind of asporting and apporting, kind of their own volition, or sometimes through human agency, sometimes through some mysterious other form of agency. And I think that, this book is again, grappling a lot with like questions of history and like movements of history. And I feel like the kind of supernatural angle here is very much, I think, Pynchon kind of grappling, and continuing to grapple with, I think, a major question in this book is like, why do things happen? Why does history like unfold the way it does? I think about, we kind of get a bit of a conspiracy in this book with like this cheese monopoly that are clearly like trying to gin up some kind of war involving the Asian continent so that they can open up Japan to the Midwestern American cheese market. But obviously like that is not the whole of it. Like World War II, if it happens in this world or doesn't happen in this world, is not like entirely because of conspiracy. There's other forces like working in the background that are only somewhat accessible to us. Things just happen sometimes and we don't know why, and we can't know why. And maybe it's an elf, maybe Maybe it's a golem. Maybe it's fucking Dracula.
Yeah, like for the conspiracy and paranoia to work at all. Yeah, like there has to be forces that like govern reality that are just sort of fundamentally inaccessible. And so I think you're right that. And two, about those objects with souls or whatever, I have a theory.
Okay.
And this is a very self-serving, self-aggrandizing theory. My master's thesis was on object-oriented ontology in Pynchon.
Oh, man.
So like this, like objects have agency in Pynchon's novels. And then he writes this. Pynchon read an article I published in 2015. That's the only possible.
He's like, this guy's got it. This guy's got it.
Yeah. He was like, I'm going to give a nod to this this dork.
Why didn't I think of that?
He's like, oh.
I mean, but like the inanimate animate stuff in V, as John mentioned, is like clearly going on here. Including that bit where they attend the cheese seminar, and the question is whether or not cheese is animate or not. And I think that like relates to the supernatural bit. There is a quote that I think has like a thematic element to why it's there, but I have another bit I just wanted to bring up. So when the book becomes a spy novel, he meets these two like British agents, and one of them says, one of the names is Alf, and he says, "It's a strange time we're in just now," Alf reflects, "one of those queer little passageways behind the scenery where popes make arrangements with fascists and the needs of cold capitalist reality and those of adjoining ghost worlds come into rude contact. Many have been quick to blame on the war on the unsupportable weight of so many dead, so many wrongs still unresolved." So like this idea that there's like this like psychic residue in this transitional period that's like the result of people dying in World War I, but also like this agency that's like sort of influencing the way things are going to go into the next like phase of history. And also I think I don't know if he was thinking about this, but the idea of like objects appearing and reappearing made me think of like capitalist like speculation on value, like the idea that something could suddenly cost so much money and then just disappear. And I don't know if that was like conscious or not, but that thought did occur to me, like when they go to Prague and like everyone is like dealing in like asported, aparted objects, and they're like arguing about like what to sell and like where it's going to go, and like there's like this like fluctuation in like value. I think that might have been going on in there. I don't know if that was conscious, but I definitely think it relates to the like object-oriented ontology, if you wanted to, or the idea of just like the material world having agency. That's like he's always been interested in that in some way. So
he's also kind of doing that thing that he'll do like in his novels that go overseas, like Against the Day or Gravity's Rainbow too, but like where Europe is just a place of magic. Like America is like whatever, but in Europe just bizarre things happen. Like he has this whole tear in this novel about like in Hungary it's been known like if you're walking through a revolving door they'll like phase past you onto the street. Like it's this sort of like weird Orientalism or something that Pynchon does with Europe.
Well, the Eastern attitude shows up. No, it's called Oriental attitude. Man. Yeah. So I just brief aside about that. I think I was reading about Vineland, and somebody pointed out that there's like Oriental attitude stuff in Vineland, which I think like it could have been like it's it's 1984. I'm going to talk a little bit about the preoccupation with Japan that was in America in the 80s, but then to see it like return again in this book, I was like, what's going on here? Like, so the main protagonist Hicks finds a pamphlet that's called like Oriental Attitude.
It's on a matchstick box.
On like a matchstick box, and it's like watered down Zen philosophy. But like that was also in Bleeding Edge, and we just did Bleeding Edge, so it's like that's clearly like a sort of exoticization, like Orientalist approach. I think because like I think he means well, but sometimes it comes across as just really weird. So I have a theory that was like one of the first things I wrote in my notes with like Pynchon needs his main character, and I think this is like there's no real exception to this. He needs a main character who's like nonviolent, passive, just sort of like being pulled along. And he goes so far out of his way to establish like Hicks almost killed a person and it haunted him. And so like after this Oriental wisdom that he receives, like all of a sudden he's like one of Pynchon's like just stoner like characters. Right. He even gets a joint when he's in Hungary. Like Tarika gives him a joint and he's like, I know what this is. Like, but
don't smell like that back
cigarettes.
Home. So I think he had to do that to explain why this 1930s like private eye is like Benny Profane from V.
Yeah, like non-aggression. Yeah, just not doing any violence.
A Schlemiel.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, we think of a lot of like these ideas about like Buddhism and Zen, crossing over in the 60s. And that is when it definitely like penetrated pop culture.
Yeah.
But, like there were definitely people like talking about what they were up to in Japan, like back in the 30s. Like Japan was kind of this miracle civilization to a lot of people in the West. It's like, oh, they started imitating us and now they're doing it better than we are. I mean, it's almost, again, in the way that this book has so many things that are kind of echoes through history. I almost feel like there's kind of this way in which the Oriental attitude is just kind of Pynchon kind of backfilling this echo of this thing that he's explored previously. Because, it is this thing that recurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And like, I think that also like fits in with his stuff overall. Yeah. Like I said, it's in Bleeding Edge, it's in Vineland. I don't know if it's as much I'm sure it's in Gravity's Rainbow, but I'm not thinking of anything off the top of my head. So
yeah, nothing's coming to mind with Gravity's Rainbow. That does not mean it's not in there, though.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it can still be in there on some random page that you forgot.
It is a novel about World War II. Yes. Theoretically, there is some mention of the Japanese somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Well, in Vineland, it's so like it like when I just read it with like a group of professors. Like we have a reading group, and we were like, teaching this to students would be a nightmare. For all the obvious reasons, but also like he's like parodying American attitudes towards like media. And so it comes across as like extremely offensive, like, because like there's characters who speak in that sort of like hyper specific, like Japanese overdub speech. And so it could hit the ears really wrong, but like it has a real purpose, I think. In this novel, it really comes out of left field. But I like your take on that, John. I think that's a good way of it sort of making it fit.
Well, and that also relates to when Hicks is like, he like thought like Hungarian women were spicy, like maybe like Latinos, and like I feel like that's also sort of like trying to like point out some like stereotypes, but in a way that sounds like like hitting the ear wrong, like not exactly PC, but
women are called tomatoes a lot in this novel.
The phrase "tomatoes rolling" is something that comes up a couple times as well.
But it happens so much at a certain point. You're like, I think he knows what he's doing.
Right.
I mean, Pynchon also just loves a bit of like weird slang.
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't know, maybe people were still calling women tomatoes when he was like a kid, but I feel like that's just like a bit of old patter that he was like, oh, I get to bring this one back.
Yeah. It's time to bring tomato back.
Yeah, so speaking of patter, I did want to mention, I feel like this is the most like dialogue heavy book of his.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool. I like it. But that was my first impression when I was reading this. I'm like, man, he really he trimmed off a lot of the like big paragraphs, and it's almost just like ping pong dialogue with almost no attributive tags. And I wondered what you guys thought of that. I have a couple of examples. I like it, but it was definitely something that I think is pretty unique in the stuff I've read of his.
TJ, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so that kind of accounts for my general attitudes towards this novel overall. Like, it's certainly not my favorite of his because, I think Pynchon's at his best. I don't think he's like particularly strong in dialogue. Like, it's funny dialogue and it's certainly interesting, but like, I think Pynchon's at his best when he does that thing. Like, dialogue is kind of just serving its purpose as like sort of this aside thing, and then he gets in his bag when those like long-winded, breathless paragraphs that like sweep from like the material to like the metaphysical, like those big sweeping motions, I think is what he does best.
Yeah.
And and sometimes like it gets really like kind of like borderline like sentimental too, like and there's none of that in this. Like I didn't identify a single paragraph that I would like say, oh yeah, this is like that thing in Crying of Lot 49 or Gravity's Rainbow that he does.
Yeah, I kind of agree. You know, it's interesting reading this directly after Leading Edge, which I think then we noticed as well. Much heavier on dialogue than other work of his. Um, you know, I'll be frank. I found the sheer amount of dialogue a little bit overwhelming, especially in comparison to the non-dialogue. There were sections of this book where I feel like I got lost in terms of like what was actually happening, where the characters physically were supposed to be, like in space, how we're getting from like one place to another, because he's covering so much with talk that like action and motivation I think gets a little bit lost in certain places. You know, and I think some of that's just that it's a Pynchon. You know, I would have liked to have had time to have read this like twice before we talked about it. Just because I feel like that first read through of a Pynchon novel tends to kind of be like just getting hit in the face, and then when you reread it is when you actually like kind of start getting things a little more strongly. But I definitely feel like I don't know exactly why he's made this turn to dialogue as he's gotten older. Because I agree with TJ. I don't know that it's where I think he's strongest as an author, but it's clearly something it's a choice he's deliberately making.
Yeah. Well, I have a theory that I might have mentioned on the Bleeding Edge episode where in the slow learner intro, he says in his early stuff that he has an abysmal ear for dialogue. And I almost see these later books as like, I'm going to try to get better at dialogue. like he's like, I'm going to try to write better dialogue. And then somehow it ends up this. I also think there was like a clear emphasis to make the like His Girl Friday, Howard Hawks, like back and forth dialogue, which may not be the exact right film reference for the 30s, but it reminded me a lot of that because I was like rewatching Angels Have Wings, Only Angels Have Wings, and then His Girl Friday, and some of the like the way the dialogue goes back and forth reminded me a lot of it. Just a brief example, and I want to see if I can read this in Italian heavy without coming across as offensive. So this is an example of the dialogue, and this is when basically Hicks is dating someone who is the object of the affection of a gangster in Milwaukee named Don Pepino, which I sent this to TJ, but John, and I also sent this to John. I think it's a reference to like an East Coast like pizza sauce chain called like Don Pepino's that I think he just was like, this would be a good gangster name. So these two guys are like, hey, stop talking to the girl. This is just a friendly word to the wise, or in your case, the otherwise. It's about your social life. A certain Bronzeville canary of your acquaintance. I think he gets it. On the other hand, he's out shopping for a wood kimono. Maybe we could help. Pink would look cute on him, ain't it? And they just like intimidate him, and then he like throws one of them through a door. Like, and it's like a roughhouse scene. And again, like this is great, but to John's point, sometimes we don't even get like a quote unquote establishing shot paragraph. Yeah. It's just like characters just start talking. So
well, and Pynchon does that thing too, where it'll be like, you know, following Hicks and whatever, he runs into April or something. It's like they met at a bar in Chicago. And then dialogue starts, and then by the end of it, you realize, oh, that was of them first meeting, I guess. Like, we're not, and Pynchon does that, but like when it's so dialogue heavy, yeah, you don't even know where you are or when you are when it happens, and it's really, it can get pretty arduous because then you're like, oh, I have to go back and reread that because I thought that was happening in present moment.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that also relates to the flashback to Daphne. And I want to talk about Daphne just a little bit. I feel like Daphne is meant to be kind of like the female foil to Hicks. And I don't know if she gets as much screen time per se as Hicks does, but like you eventually get their first meeting flashback. And it's like to your point, TJ, it's almost hard to discern like, oh yeah, this is when they first met. And like, it happens just randomly. Yeah. Well, I'm sure there was a design to it, but it feels like it happens like, oh, now we're doing like a flashback to when they first met. So.
Yeah. I mean, Daphne is just sort of a MacGuffin in this novel, right? Like I don't know if that was the intent or not. Because like when I started reading this, I was like, oh, it's Inherent Vice set in the 30s.
Yeah.
Like, that's, and I was like, great, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And then of course it didn't turn into that. But yeah, I mean, I guess a foil character. I mean, the amount of airtime she gets like at the end is kind of confusing to me. Because like all of a sudden, like the relationship with like her dad is meant to like be meaningful in some way. I
yeah, it acts like there's been this whole arc that we've been following, and there isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
At least that's on the page.
Yeah. Like we get resolution of Daphne's relationship with her dad, and that's it. And it's like the one thing I don't
dad
care
who's been
about.
who's been on like 5 pages previously.
Yeah.
Well, and then they meet because he thinks an older guy is hitting on her, and then John, ding ding ding. There's like some Austrian jerk off would probably say it was as if they saw each other for the first time or something. Like it's like a Freudian father daughter thing. Yeah, and then there's like the resolution. So that is something that maybe would have been more fleshed out if it was like a bigger book. So yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if I want to say I was excited to read this because it was like shorter. It's not exactly what I meant, but I was kind of like, oh, if he's doing like a short one, like, again, there's so few short Pynchons where I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be like really like lean, and like it's, you know, kind of like Crying of Lot 49, where it's like all killer, no filler.
Mm-hmm.
And I came away from the book kind of being like, I wish this was a bit longer.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a little truncated.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's kind of because who knows what's going on with his health. I almost kind of wonder if it was like he had like a health scare towards the end. He was like, you know what, I got to just finish this.
Yeah. It definitely felt like it should be like Against the Day. It should be one of those.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's like it's like the suture time period between Against the Day and Gravity's Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
So like he could have easily ballooned out more. And I feel like when I mentioned this earlier, but when the character says like during the like robot 3-way digression, the character goes, "Do we really have time for this?" And I could just see like that's like Pynchon being like, I gotta wrap this up. Like I don't know what's going on. We gotta get everybody to fume and then have the resolution. So,
and the way I've described it to like friends, who are into Pynchon, it's like it's sort of Pynchon light.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying this last night to someone, like, it reads like, if you're into Pynchon, this book reads like a Pynchon Mad Lib or something. Like he just sort of plugged in like Pynchon plot points and characters. I mean, it doesn't feel like his most fully realized, fleshed out novel by any stretch.
But I mean, like, there's still, like you were saying, there's still great stuff. Like you still get the weird, alternative history stuff. You get, again, like ping pong dialogue. And I do like the image of like the protagonist in over his head, because I feel like he likes doing that a lot. And I think like actually having him, be kind of unmoored in Central Europe or Eastern Europe is cool. So, but
no, I mean, it's a great conceit. I almost wonder, like, again, I think this book is so interesting because like how often do we get a book written by an 88-year-old man?
Right.
Particularly an 88-year-old man who's also like written like at least 3 or 4 of like the most important books in American letters of the last century.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like, I don't want to say it's laziness, but I think there's something there in terms of like, this is a guy he wrote Gravity's Rainbow, he wrote Crying of Lot 49, he wrote Against the Day. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if there's kind of an element here where it's like, well, I'm going to do like what I want here. And I really want to write like snappy 1930s, like screenplay dialogue more than I want to like do more bravura paragraphs. Cause I've already done that. I know I can do that.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of like a thing where it's like, sometimes you see like a like guy who is like a classic rock star in like the 60s and 70s. And now he's like 75 and he just really loves like getting on stage and like noodling a crazy guitar solo that he couldn't have done when he was 20. Because he just wants to show like, no, I'm better now.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone else's name on the cover, I'd be like, this book is a masterpiece, right? Like, it's just judging him against himself that, there's some knocks on it. But I have a theory about that too, of like the sort of the discombobulation here. Like, I mean, I really suspect that like this came from like 2 novels, like, because it feels like 2 novels, like pretty evenly. The first half is so Milwaukee.
Yeah, 19. It's like chapter 19, which is like the midpoint chapters when he wakes up on the boat. Yeah,
like literally, like you could slice it in half, and the first half is Milwaukee, the second half is Hungary.
And we get such a clean break because he literally like blacks out and then like wakes up on this boat. And he like doesn't even know how long it's been that he's been on the boat.
Yeah. Like I'm convinced that like he was working on a novel, sort of scrapped it, started working on another one, scrapped it. It was like, oh, I could just sort of merge these.
Well, I remember the internet gossip was that like this was like an Against the Day B-side when it first got announced, because like the Eastern Europe setting, the time period, the like pre-warness of it, like an Against the Day, they were like maybe he just like this was like an Against the Day, and like I think it's maybe less that, as we've been talking about, like stylistically it's different, but there is some similarities with the like genre stuff, because like Against the Day has all those like there's a Western section, there's even like a detective section, there's a lot of like genre stuff in Against the Day. So
yeah,
and I feel like the paragraphs that I pulled were a lot shorter. Like there's one this is the scene. So April, he's dating a nightclub singer, and then they have to break up when he leaves for Hungary. And this is only a couple of sentences, but I feel like this is way shorter than they used to be. So they're on the boat leaving. They're going. I can't remember where he's taking the boat to. I guess across.
They're like crossing like the lake to get to like the other side, basically, so that he can then progress. So I guess he's coming from Milwaukee, probably somewhere like in Michigan, or like maybe down to Illinois.
Yeah, I don't know.
It must be.
He passes through like Pittsburgh on his way to New York. That's the kind of trajectory.
Yeah. Well, but they're on the boat, and so the shoreline rolls by, some cumulus in the west, backlit by the setting sun. Spirits, mixers, and chasers flow, and the dance orchestration includes both a full keyboard accordion and a Chemnitzer concertina, which means every once in a while, between the slow, dreamy numbers and the upbeat jingles about how great everything is these days, there'll be polkas, just in case anybody was thinking of wandering off and jumping overboard. Which is like a perfect bit of just like the narrator like stepping forward and being like, yeah, this sucks. I hate polkas. Like, and like, again, he could have gone on much longer, and that's basically all he needs for this book. So, yeah. Yeah,
like it makes sense that he would be into like this sort of ping-pongy dialogue, because if we're to understand, like, we have an 88-year-old guy like watching black and white gangster movies, like, of course you want to do that snappy dialogue justice. Like this reads like it's like Gilmore Girls gangster. Like,
yeah, that's great.
But yeah, but it is puzzling because like, yeah, Bleeding Edge does the same thing, and that doesn't really have the same. Yeah,
it's when we read that, like there's a bit where like 9/11 happens, and that's like there's still like 150 pages to go in that book, like more. Well, actually, probably more now that I think about it. But like, there's a lot more. Like he clearly had more on the table for Bleeding Edge, and then maybe he did have it for this. But yeah, it's like I think there might have been a rush to finish. So
yeah, because I ended up feeling a little frustrated. Despite that transition happening kind of cleanly. He gets to Europe, and it feels like the Europe section is like basically it felt to be like trying to cram like the Grand Budapest Hotel into like a 30-minute short film.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like you just kind of get like Hungary spooky, like and like there is some references like to actual Hungarian, because Pynchon always does his research, and like they do talk about the tunnels under Hungary, which is like a big thing they take you to if you're visiting there. So, but yeah, it's like it felt very like playing the hits. So
yeah. Well, the way the plot progresses is like in the first half, the Milwaukee section, it's like super kind of tight and contained. Like Hicks will go talk to someone, and then that person's like, you should go talk to so-and-so at the bowling alley. And then the next chapter he goes to the bowling alley, and that person says, you should talk to this. And like, it just moves like that. And then in Hungary, it just like Hicks disappears for a while. It's, and I prefer that. I like the Hungary sections more.
The Hungary sections have in my opinion, the greatest character in the history of Thomas Pynchon's oeuvre, Dr. Zoltan Van Kiss.
ZVK.
ZVK. For those who haven't read the book, he is a mysterious, semi-androgynous jewel thief and psychic.
Yeah, he's always like making things disappear from people and then waving at them from across the bar, like toasting as he like takes their stuff. Like it's very funny.
It's very much giving like the creepy guy from the beginning of Lost Highway, but like, what if he was actually like not that bad?
Yeah,
like what if he was just kind of a clown?
Well, and then Hicks has to help him find the worst lamp of all time.
I forgot about that.
That was amazing. I loved that part.
That is one of the best parts. That might be the best part of the novel. That rules.
Yeah, there's like a very Pynchon description about how words cannot describe how awful this lamp is. And I think the name is in Esperanto. I think I don't remember the exact name.
The Lampus Plej Malbacticon or something like that.
Yeah, and it's such a weird bit, but then there's even the Pynchon theme of being saved, where somebody says but even the worst lamp can have a spot in history or something. And so he still manages to work in his theme, and what is this apparently just side tangent about just a supernatural jewel thief and trying to get a horrible lamp. So
for a count who's part of this international scene of ugly lamp collectors.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then doesn't somebody say lamps are inherently bad because you don't need a lot to make a lamp? I think it's when somebody says you just need the bulb and the connection, and anything else can just be tasteless. So,
not that they're bad, but that they're very easy to make ugly because the mechanism is so simple.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah,
and then, of course, Hicks great. Sees it, and he's like, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's it's fine. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then
as soon as he brought up Zoltan von Kiss, I was like, yeah. I mean, I remember him taking people's earrings and then putting them back on and waving. But I was I don't remember what he did for the plot, but I think it was that.
It was that, yeah.
And then it gave us Ace.
Right, and then Ace is a sort of guy for hire who drives a motorcycle and he does odd jobs.
Yeah,
he's kind of a Western guy because he does that karaoke country song.
And he's a motorcycle's like a horse.
yeah, and
kind of a revolver ocelot figure.
Honestly, yeah, that's a good description. Just a gun for hire. And him and Hicks are twinned as kind of related. They almost start shooting at each other, but then they realize they're on the same side, I think.
Not so much that they're on the same side, but that they're there's a spiritual kinship there. They're both men who get hired to do violence they personally have no investment in for money.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of this moment of almost kind of worker solidarity between them.
Yeah.
Because Ace is the cheese magnate, I think. The cheese magnate's heavy, basically.
Yeah. And he hires a bunch of guys. There's a description of Ace standing in line to go talk to the cheese magnate. So
I mean, the worker solidarity point sticks out, right? Because they make a big to-do of that in the Milwaukee section.
Yeah.
Because Hicks, prior to, being this sort of private eye gumshoe, which we need to talk about the gumshoe manual. But
yeah, we should.
Yeah, he was busting unions.
Yeah.
Dude,
that bit when it says being a union buster was the same as high school is so good. It's literally one sentence, and that's a whole worldview. It's just well, I mean, it's the same as high school. You just beat up on some people you don't like. It's
but that's where it seems that's the transformative, moment for Hicks is he comes to sort of resent, working for these, evil capitalists. And that's where he almost kills someone, and he kind of has his Oriental moment comes in there.
Yeah, what is described as a trunculent little Bolshevik wearing glasses, and he gets so mad at the Bolshevik that he's going to hit him with his beaver saptail, and then it's just gone.
Do we know what? I didn't even look it up. What is a beaver saptail?
I think it's it's like a blackjack, right? It's a heavy thing that you hit somebody over the head with.
And then it just sports away.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It does actually feel very Buddhist there. The means of violence disappears, and all of a sudden you have this moment of clarity.
Yeah. And then the Bolshevik is the one who tells him that the Santa's Elvis package is a bomb. He shows up during that scene, and he's like, hey, you might want to get rid of that. Yeah, I do like that sort of come to Jesus conscience expanding taking responsibility moment feels like the crux for Hicks, at least, even though the book kind of leaves him behind. It's like that's his like turning point. So
yeah, it does seem to like define his entire character. Like, because like the Ace Lomax moment is like a great example of, Hicks is there to do a job. He's got his ticket, and constantly he's just like not doing his job. With Daphne, with Bruno, the work he does for Prey Digger, which we should talk about too, because that guy's funny. He's just like
coke addict.
So he like has so many chances to like go back home, but he's just letting people go always.
Well, I think I'm thinking again kind of about Pynchon as kind of a writer of like the occult or like a spiritual writer. And I feel like there's something kind of going on there with Hicks. And again, maybe there is kind of some weird Orientalist stuff there, but I keep getting like fixated on this idea of like Hicks is like this Buddhist character a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something there in terms of, the kind of old, like kind of Zen joke. It's like before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I think that, there's, when you're into like the occult or like when you're into spirituality, you're searching after this like transcendent experience. And Hicks is someone who has it and has it in like, but has it like in this like incredibly mundane way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fix anything. Like he's still broke. He's still struggling to get by, but he's just personally less of a piece of shit. But even then, like, it doesn't actually like give him the ability to like put a fine point on anything in his life. It's just like this one transcendent moment.
Yeah. Like,
changes his life forever. But guess what, dude? You still got to chop that fucking wood and carry that fucking water.
Yeah. He's a weirdly desireless character. I mean, I guess a lot of Pynchon's main characters are, but like, he's just going with the flow.
Well, and he's a good dancer, which I think is the chop wood, carry water. Is like he's a good dancer, and they describe him getting in like a Hoofer's trance, where he's just like not aware of what's happening. It's almost like ego death or something. Like I was
imagining him doing the Mr. Boss dance.
When he's like floss handing desperately and like sweating.
If any time a female character gets introduced in this novel, you bet Hicks is about to dance with her.
Well, okay, so I have a great bit pulled because I think the dancing bits were some of my favorite stuff. So this is when he starts dancing a tango with Daphne. Come on, taking her by a hand, not holding a cigarette, which is parked instead on her lower lip. A murmur to the band leader. You gents know Sagana da Katumbi? Gotcha, with one of those complicit grins. Ordinarily, it's not a good idea to dance the Max 60 with somebody until you really know them well. Not that the steps are tricky, but since you do have to look good, it helps to feel as sincere as you want to look, keeping always pressed close with a lot of swaying till it becomes hard, so to speak, to pretend your intentions are that non-sexual for very long, as it were. I also think there's a pun on till it becomes hard, so to speak. Even then, he's like kind of expressing desire there, but the dancing descriptions are great, and he's just like really good at dancing in a way that's like important to his character, but you don't see him like practice dance or anything. It's just something he does well. So
speaking of, so this book has given its relative length as being somewhat short, it has a ton of songs.
So many songs.
Many songs, maybe more like per ratio than any of his other ones. But when you guys read, like, I don't know, how do you read those songs? What is that for you?
That's a good question. John has a better answer, I think, than I do. So John should go first on this one.
To me, it's again, this is old guy brain. This is like he's remembering stuff that like he remembers playing on the radio when he was like 5 years old, in the way that like I remember like Backstreet Boy songs.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even so much that you like it. It's just like, oh, I heard this at like a time when my brain didn't know what music was, and just like permanently latched onto this melody. And so I think that that's part of it. I mean, I think part of it, again, he's old. No one's going to tell him he can't do what he wants to do. And the man just loves writing a fucking little jingle. Like, he just loves writing a silly song.
Yeah.
And, he's just not going to let the fact that there's the parts of his books that people tend to like the least get in his way.
That's exactly, yeah. I at a certain point about halfway through, I was just kind of skipping over him. I was like,
Okay, I think some of them are good because I feel like he actually did try to write like slow 30 sentimental numbers. Like the ones that April sings are actually, I think, good in terms of like as good as a jingle, like a sad 30s torch song could be. But then like the upbeat ones that are like a lot of jazz hands. There's the one where like the chorus is like Budapest. Like I was like, I don't like that one. I think no thanks. Yeah,
I think I almost like that one because it was the on its surface just like stupidest one.
Yeah,
where they're at this weird like trumpet like Brazilian themed nightclub in Budapest.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they're having to like figure out a way to make this make sense.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they're singing this stupid like banana hat song about fucking living in Budapest.
Yeah, there's like a dance like tempo change, like it suddenly becomes really upbeat. Like yeah, so
I now come to think of it, like every bar or club they walk into is always themed something.
Yeah.
Like, consistently.
I mean, I do think that music like plays an interesting role in this book too, because the whole reason that like Hicks is on this job is that Daphne is absconded to Europe with the clarinetist for the Klezmaniacs, which is a klezmer inflected swing band.
Yeah.
But there's a way in which like swing in this book like stands in for like rock and roll.
Yeah.
Or like, kind of the hip music in this way that again feels very familiar in Pynchon, the way he likes to use music.
Yeah.
Well, and also like klezmer jazz was like pretty controversial at the time, and that was like a big product of like the Third Reich, as well as like saying this is bad music. And so like that swing kids part is very like you were saying, it's rock and roll, but I feel like it's also like he might have like made some stuff more ridiculous, but I think it's very like historically specific too for the time period.
Yeah, well, I think it's this Pynchon thing of like the squares are evil.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, there's this is obviously a book that is anti-Holocaust and anti-Nazi, and so there's kind of this way in which like, like people who are scared of this music are evil.
Yeah, or Hitler Youth even, as that one bit talks about. Yeah. So
yeah, no. Like there's literal scenes of basically like a disco destruction night, but it's Hitler Youth people like breaking up. And there's a great bit where they're discussing like people who are into this music, like knowing that like if they go to like a club or a show, like they're gonna get in a fight because there are Nazis in their city now, and like they are into this music that is like controversial and has been politicized in this way.
Yeah.
Well, and even like the character of Hop, that bit about him being a clarinet player, like the payoff for it is like, as the novel goes on, like everything is just sort of saturated in like this, like Pynchon talking about how Nazis are, everywhere and evil and like micromanaging every detail of culture in Europe at the time. And Hop is enlisted to go this gig and people in attendance will be like fascists and Nazis.
Yeah.
And he's Jewish. And his manager or whoever is like, yeah, you can't play clarinet. The clarinet's too Jewish, which like is like this, I think like a Woody Allen reference, maybe. Like,
like his agent is also a double agent, and he's like, we're gonna help get Jewish people out of Hungary before the fascists take over.
Yeah,
but you can't play the clarinet at this gig because it's gonna look too conspicuous.
Yeah,
so
he's like, can you play trumpet?
Yeah.
Well, like it, the sort of the anti-Semitism in the novel. Right, like it just becomes like everywhere.
Yeah,
like all like the Nazis are everywhere, the fascists are everywhere, and like John was saying of like, the way they're sort of micromanaging this culture and like trying to suppress. It was great. I mean, like, and Pynchon has this line, and I was trying to find it, but where he just like takes a shot at Nazis, like it's with the Hitler Youth.
Oh yeah,
and he's essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, yeah, these kids are like little wussies,
losers.
Yeah.
Well, Well, also his Uncle Lefty, who the ironically named Uncle Lefty in Milwaukee is like a big Hitler supporter. And then like Hicks is like, man, you go crazy for that funny little comedian, don't you? And Uncle Lefty is like, actually, yeah. So, but also
actually
the bit where they go to New Nuremberg Lanes was like, I feel like I was thinking about all those horrible like white nationalist AI videos on X where like they go to New Nuremberg Lanes and it's like this like too nice, unreal, like weird, just like Nazi bowling alley. And like the way that like Pynchon cranks up the classic paranoia in that scene where like Hicks finds himself wearing the sombrero of uneasiness, which is like when you realize that like, things are too perfect, something is off. And then like later you find out that the Nazis at the bowling alley are in league with the like prohibition agents and stuff like that. So I feel like that's definitely like, I don't know if he like was aware of all of the like white nationalist posting on Twitter, which is a weird question to ask of an 88-year-old man, but I feel like that was very like to me in conversation with that. So
totally. Yeah, because I mean, when he discusses those like the Hitler Youth kids, you know, like he's like clowning on their haircuts and their like dapper little outfits, and he says like they're you know, again paraphrasing, but like they're just going to be chewed up by the system.
Oh,
like,
yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they're going to die in World War II. Yeah,
like that they, you know, they're not equipped for this, like intellectually or physically or anything. And then the system is just going to, this Nazi system, this ideology is going to like chew them up.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, feels like he has been on X, right? Like these people with like, you know, this white nationalist beliefs. It's like, man, you were sold this.
Yeah, well, and like I think that bit even goes like they wouldn't even like care for each other. I think he even says like there's no solidarity as well. So
it's like this does not benefit you. This,
you know, I found myself thinking a lot about kind of to continue like this political line we're on. What do you guys think of the scene in Pittsburgh? Where he's like talking to that guy and it's the only time Roosevelt gets brought up.
Oh,
like, in the book.
On the train. Yeah.
They're on the train. They're talking about Roosevelt. And, you know, I think Hicks says like, some people say he's a class traitor. And the guy's like,
Oh, well, also he goes, he goes, in the White House, by the way, the White House.
Yeah.
like that's what the guy's
talking to like a train porter, right?
Yeah, a train porter. Yeah. And he goes like, did I say the White House? Yeah.
Hicks being like, I know how you people talk.
There is a lot of like in that scene, especially like, and again, it's something that feels like very, modern and contemporary, but like talking, you know, Hicks meeting a stranger and like politics starts to like they're sort of orbiting it.
Yeah.
And he's just sort of like trying to see like where people's sympathies are. Well,
I think
being very precious about it.
Well, I think the porter was like this is just like white people problems, like or something like the idea that like Roosevelt won't actually make my life better. I got that undercurrent in that.
Well, he's like, oh, he's going to need the South to win.
Yeah.
And you think he's going to do anything for me if he needs the South to win?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Which like I feel like that is it like it makes sense, but then when the coup is revealed, if we want to go there, I feel like it suddenly like becomes something else. Like, because I feel like the political angle with Roosevelt, it's like, like I think to me that's Pynchon being like, I'm on the side of the people that aren't going to be represented by this political discussion that's happening. But then like when the coup happens, suddenly it's like, oh, the fascists are in control now. Like the millionaires,
like everything is doomed.
Yeah, like everything is doomed. The millionaires have taken over. They've installed General MacArthur from Milwaukee. This is a reference to the business plot in 1933, where a bunch of businessmen tried to do a coup on Roosevelt, and they wanted to install Smedley Butler, who was a general, and then Smedley Butler told on all of them in the McCarthy trials, and so like basically he was like, I can't go through with this, and like McCarthy like exposed all of it, and so like it's a real reference that happened in this time period, but it didn't succeed, whereas in Pynchon's story it does. So
I like your phrasing of told on them, like he like raised his hand.
He tattled.
I mean, he basically did, right? I mean, yeah, like he was like, by the way, everybody wanted me to do this. Like,
it's just like high school.
Yeah.
But I will say that the bit at the end there, I don't want to like get too in the weeds here, but like it felt very like, oh, this part of the book was written post November 2024, and maybe the bit about Roosevelt there at the beginning was written pre.
Yeah,
honestly,
really, that last chapter had to have been added on. Yeah, like when it opened. I mean, it opens with like, the Statue of Liberty is now like militant.
Right, it has like a mask. Yeah. So,
but also like, the United States went fascist over milk prices. It's a little hard to not see some parallels there.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like, I mean, we can talk about that now if we want, unless we want to hit anything else. But like, that's the part where the first time I read it, I was extremely depressed. And then I like read it again. And I'm like, I can kind of see this as a little bit more of like you were saying, John, like a kind of like jab at the current standing. Whereas before I was like, oh, he's just like, it's over, like the end, like, and so like, I don't know if we want to talk about that now, but my opinion changed the most because I was able to read this a second time, and I feel like I thought differently about the ending on the second go through.
Interesting.
So, but
go ahead, TJ.
Well, there's that line, right, of, and again, not exact quote, but like, this isn't the same America, kid. Like when they're bringing Hicks back. And I mean, my reading was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
But I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do want to circle back around because I know we still need to talk about like the gumshoe and stuff.
We do, yeah.
So we can always cut this up a little bit, but I don't know. So my feelings are a little bit mixed on the ending. I mean, obviously, yes, it's depressing in a way, but it's also, I think, it's a moment of like historical rupture in this book. It's we kind of go through this book, and again, kind of the zanier elements aside, there's kind of always, I think, something in Pynchon where it's like, okay, there's like the zany stuff happening, but like real history is happening like in the background. And we're just not as focused on that as we are in like the crazy stuff happening in front of us. And sometimes those worlds like intersect. But I think that there's kind of like it's kind of presented like a little absurdly, like, there was a milk price riots, and now, General MacArthur's in charge. But I think it's also sort of this like it's a bad moment of historical rupture. Yeah. But it is also this place, the first place in the book where it becomes clear that like, okay, we're not on rails. Like, we are not just marching towards the camps. Necessarily. Like, it's leaving us in a place where it's like, okay, that's probably still going to happen in this world. There's not necessarily a reason to think that it doesn't. There's not necessarily hope, but there is hope from the standpoint that history is different than it is in our world.
Yeah.
There's the line that Glow Tripworth Del Vasto says, whatever it is that's about to happen, once it's over, we'll all say, oh, well, it's history and should have seen it coming. Yeah. And I think it's Pynchon kind of being like, yeah, but you don't know what's coming. You thought the whole time that this was going one way and it's going another. And so, I'm always a little skeptical sometimes with Pynchon. I think we talked about this, Ben, in our V episode. Like, does Pynchon ever give us an out to kind of the more depressing aspects of his work? The way that these forces, human and otherwise, are arrayed against us. And I don't know that he ever really does, but if he does, it's in just like kind of, again, this very strange way where it's like, well, things could just be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the lever of like history or time can change. That reminds me too, like the other parallel to that quote, John, is the one where Daphne and Hicks meet up, and they're talking, and then the narrator steps through and says, well, one of them should have been saying was, we're in the last minutes of a break that will seem so wonderful and peaceable and carefree if somebody's around to remember. Still trying to keep on with it before it gets too dark, until finally we turn to look back the way we came, and there's that last light bulb, once so bright, now feebly flickering, about to burn out. And it's well past time to be saying, Florsheim's, let's ambulate. And then, like, I won't read the whole thing, but then he says, one night you wake into an understanding of what you should have been doing with your life all along. Something like that, if anybody was still around to hear it. which there isn't. And like I read that it also is like, yeah, like nobody's hearing this other message, like things could be different. There's also, I think, echoes of Byron in the bulb thing, and I don't know if that was like intentional. John, in Gravity's Rainbow, there's an interlude called like The Tale of Byron the Bulb, about a light bulb who like never dies, and then he's like the subject of like the light bulb cartel trying to capture him. And it's kind of like this, I think there's a Gnostic reading of like, you have all this knowledge but you can't actually change anything, like Byron. And I wonder if that's like an echo there, unless I'm like looking at light bulbs too much. But I do think, yeah, John, it's like possible that he's saying with the way like the riot, like the coup happened, is like, yeah, history can still change in some way. It won't be completely different. And I see that also coming through on the like, yeah, you could have done something good. Like you could have like, let's get you like had a taken responsibility, or you could just ignore it. So, yeah,
I mean, that's what, you know, and postmodernism in general, right, gets like sort of written off as, you know, so it's so indulgent to the point of just it's cynical and nihilistic, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, like in this novel especially, but like Vineland is very similar messaging wise. Like it's like very anti-cynical. Like it's like it seems to be parodying cynicism. I mean, for all those passages you point out of like people are just sort of helpless at the feet of history. When in reality, they're just not doing anything.
Right. Yeah. Because again, like the rest of that thing says like, yeah, stay or go, two fates beginning to diverge, marry, raise a family, or, you know, those you could have saved could have shifted at least somehow into a safer stretch of track, or one by one robbed, beaten, killed, seized, and taken away into the nameless, the unrecoverable. Which like, yeah, it's like you could have tried to save these people and then you didn't. So yeah. But
well, and even like we end kind of on this thing, like you said, your plot summary, Ben, like they have like, we have this almost kind of like ragtag, like found family group, like now with like this U-boat that they can presumably do something with.
Yeah. Aren't they going to like help? They're going to help Jews escape, right?
Yeah, and like other people like Bruno who might be killed. I thought Hicks was on the U-boat, and then I looked at that scene and we were talking about how there's no dialogue, like there's no scene setting. I don't think Hicks is even on the U-boat. Like when I read it the first time, I was like, oh, he's in the ragtag group on the U-boat, like you said, John. But then you read that he's just like somewhere, and then Tarika, the Hungarian biker lady, shows up and they like make out, and it's like it's like Hicks gets like a good ending even if he's not on the U-boat. So like, but yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird way for Hicks to leave the novel.
Right, like because he's in Fume, and then he's disappeared, and then Bruno's on the U-boat, and then we find out what the U-boat's going to do, and then then it just like Hicks shows up and he's like making out with Tarika, and that's like the end. So yeah,
it is strange because he doesn't feel like he has a conclusion as a character, and maybe that's again intentional. It's this thing of like, oh yeah, they're like his life's not over. Like this is just kind of like a snapshot we've seen of it. And you know, there's kind of a positive spin on that, which is like he goes on to further adventures. You know, there's a darker version of that, which is like, oh, he's going to have to survive World War II living in like one of the worst places to live in the entire world at the time.
Right.
But even like, again, like the relationship he has with Tarika is so strange because I kind of felt like that came out of nowhere. Like we're kind of set up with this relationship he has in Milwaukee, and then they break things off. Yeah. And then like he has kind of these flirtations on his way to Europe with these, you know, various female characters. And then he gets to Europe and like all of a sudden, like there's this relationship with this, Tarika character. And I mean, I think some of it is just kind of, you know, Pynchon being Pynchon about, he likes writing a cool lady who is inexplicably into his protagonist. But Hicks just kind of feels like a little floaty as a character sometimes, and I don't quite get what Pynchon's trying to do, especially here at the end.
Yeah, he's one of those characters like a Benny Profane or someone who is there just to like get us to other characters. Other characters like hung on to Hicks.
Yeah, and then and then like the narrative gets more interested in them like at various points. Yeah. Well, I also want to go back to what you said. I think that's a good thing to note about postmodernism though, is that like Yeah, like we kind of said in the opening, it's not just Pynchon like having a nostalgic romp. It's like he also has some like very serious things to say about like personal responsibility towards others, given like uncertain political times. And like, I think there's a moment in Gravity's Rainbow where he's critiquing this because he says like, doesn't somebody say in Gravity's Rainbow, there's nothing so loathsome as a sentimental surrealist? And I think like that's him realizing that like he knows kind of like he can't take what he's doing in too far direction, but like it's not just fun and games. It's like there's things he wants to say, you know, timely things even, but beyond what he's doing. So
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest mistake you could make reading Pynchon is thinking that like he's, you know, that this is all just play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a beating heart to this one, and his other ones.
Yeah, you know, I can't really imagine an author who I like, at least I like that postmodern cohort who in some ways like feels most, I don't know if I want to say humanistic, but like Pynchon's obviously like cynical, but like he clearly finds like human beings fascinating and lovable in so many ways, or else he wouldn't have so many kooky characters.
Yeah.
Like someone who did not like people or like hates humanity, like would not write characters like
You're describing Don DeLillo. Don DeLillo is the one who hates everybody and hates his characters too. And
no, like we read Libra for the show over the summer, and like Don DeLillo is not like a single person involved in that story. No. He finds every single person involved in that book contemptible from beginning to end.
yeah, Don DeLillo. Goodness gracious, he's something. Ben knows this story, but I met Don DeLillo, and I was in college, and I gave Don DeLillo a manuscript I was working on. I was like, can I give you this? And he didn't hear me. He's like, he was really old then. And he was like, what? I was like, can I give this to you? And he just like nodded at the table in front of him, and I set it there. And I took the train from Chicago back home, and the whole drive I was like, I can't wait to hear from Don DeLillo about what he thinks about my novel. I'm like, I wonder how fast he's going to read it. Still waiting.
That went into a waste paper basket probably before he left the venue.
He probably didn't even touch it.
Oh, that's really funny. But I want to talk a little bit more about Hicks, because I feel like this is something we wanted to talk about earlier. I feel like it's really hard to untangle Hicks from, again, this noir detective role that he is very clearly cast in.
Yeah.
And I wondered if, you know, I know we wouldn't talk about the Gumshoe Handbook, and I think that if we're going to try to like get to the bottom of Hicks as a character a little bit more, that might be like an interesting angle to take it at. Like he's the character here who is most clearly like meant to embody a trope. And, you know, kind of most clearly like is riffing on like directly, like, you know, hundreds, perhaps thousands of like noir detective protagonists in literature.
Well, and like the Gumshoe's manual is like it's like his like store of received wisdom, which is always commenting on things that happen. And like at one point, it's like, you know, the Gumshoe's manual says like never get involved with matrimonials unless you're expecting something on the side. Because like, and then like the Gumshoe's manual is like always be aware of when the next ticket will be sprung on you without question. And it's sort of like this kind of Greek chorusy like store of received wisdom, and like I think that stuff manages to be a little less tropey, but yeah, the idea of him kind of just being like a lovable gorilla, or like as somebody calls him, like that's definitely like the trope aspect of his character. Like he's just like a big heavy guy who can dance well, and like he's not that smart. So
well, the Gumshoe manual, you know, reminded me of like the parables for the paranoid or whatever in Gravity's Rainbow. Like these sort of interstitial like little drops of wisdom. But I mean, in the context of like the trope of the noir, like the humor of like consulting a manual, like when you're on a ticket.
You're like, what does the manual say? Yeah.
So. It's really fun. And it seems to have like an answer for everything.
I think another thing with Hicks that's interesting is, again, compared to most like noir detectives, he's not like an independent contractor. Like he's not a guy sitting in his own office, like drinking scotch and smoking a cigar. Like he has a boss.
Yeah,
who, like, assigns him jobs.
He works for unamalgamated ops. So soon to be amalgamated, I think, is the implication. So
and his boss's name is Boint, which is deserves to be pointed out.
Yeah, Boint Crosstown. Yeah, so I actually love the conversation with his boss because his boss is like always trying to get him to be like a striver and like have hustle grind set, and he just doesn't have it. So like it's always like he's like, oh, you know, now you got like your buttons are falling off. This might have worked with we're just one of us racket, but we're into the big tickets now. Like you need to dress up. So
yeah, he says like you could. We know you're not going to waste your clothing budget because you're a smart guy. So we're going to give you a little extra. Don't forget to buy ties and pocket squares.
Well, like I think Boint too is supposed to be kind of like like capitalist reality where it's like, you know, why are you helping people? Like we're here to make money, and like it's revealed that like Boint has so much more money than all the people he employs. So yeah.
Well, it's almost like Hicks is like this like artisan class guy who's like suddenly like being forced to like deal with the market in this way.
Yeah.
And you know, there, like you said in your summary, Ben, there's kind of this implication that like, oh, the FBI is like getting up and running, and like all these like private dicks and gumshoes are going to get like put out of a job by like basically the creation of the modern intelligence services.
Right. And they
speaking of
go
ahead, Ben.
Well, I was going to say they basically force him to take that job as well. So what are you going to say?
I was going to say, speaking of intelligence services, what do we think of the like British is it MI3B? Is that the kind of fake agency they work for?
Yeah.
Also, isn't there a joke about the letter? It's like, oh, you've heard about like M? Well, our guy is P or something. like they say that at one point. We could also talk about Prediger too, because I think he's there. Yeah, I feel like he pulls in these like also tropes, but I think it's great that like Alf doesn't do any of the shooting and his wife does. Like his wife, and then like there's a part where they're arguing about, are you gonna kill him this time? Like they're talking about like who's gonna kill the person they're supposed to kill. And I find that the POV switches to them in a way I can't think of other Pynchon doing. I mean, he does it in Against the Day, but like suddenly like we're looking at them looking at Hicks, and they're like, oh, is Hicks really as dumb as he appears to be? Like it's like what one of them says. And like with Prediger, he's like this cocaine freak Interpol guy who is like constantly taking cocaine. He has like a giant soup spoon and he's shoving cocaine into both nostrils at once. It's like one of the descriptions. So I don't know. I think like, it's just him kind of having fun with like espionage tropes, but like making them like even more ridiculous. So
yeah, it's like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy or whatever. Like that movie is just like such it twists your head. Like whose side are they on? In this novel, it's like people are like double, triple, quadruple agents. Like
it's actually doing this. Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know. I keep thinking about it compared to like Windust in Bleeding Edge, and kind of the way he's like also a somewhat silly character, but much more like sinister. Whereas like the intelligence people in this, and maybe again, this is kind of the historical angle here, kind of the ways in which, this is kind of at the consolidation of these things. They're not quite what they will be. They can't quite create like someone that evil yet. So they're just kind of like dealing with these eccentrics. There's almost kind of like a nostalgic element to it. It feels like again, like when there's crime happening in this novel, it's like jewel theft and like... lamp raids and
cheese fraud as well.
Counterfeit cheese.
Again, it feels very like Grand Budapest Hotel in a way to me. Like that's really what a lot of those sections felt like to me. It's kind of like, we're like dealing with like candy people.
Yeah, and his Pynchon loves a spy. He really loves a spy character, and that Prediger, like. There's I think it's like towards the very end when doesn't he like fall out of a ceiling?
Yeah, there's a chandelier, and I think he falls from the chandelier, right? Yeah,
it just like it's because and for the life of me, I mean, I couldn't even begin to like characterize what the conspiracy of this novel is. I don't know. I don't understand it. But like Prediger's only goal in the novel is to find Bruno. And that's why he has like Hicks kind of doing all these side quests. And then at the end of the novel, he just falls through the ceiling at Bruno's place. And he just sees it. That's how it's resolved.
Yeah, he just like runs away. I think they're like,
he does.
Yeah, they describe his nose merrily aglow. I think it's
It's like the weirdest plot like resolution is the guy who's after Bruno just like falls through his ceiling.
Well, like I wondered, there was a part where Bruno talks to Daphne about having like a safe full of cheese information. It's like actually better than money. And I wondered if that had like something to do with why Prediger was after him, but it's like never spelled out. So
yeah, it's very confusing.
I mean, if there's a conspiracy, I think it's kind of about, again, it's like this weird way in which like capital needs markets. The cheese, they sold all the cheese to the corn feds out in Wisconsin or Minnesota. We gotta get a war on so we can colonize Japan and make them eat cheese.
Well, I mean, again, Gravity's Rainbow. What is it like? Like war is the continuation of markets by other means or something like that. I can't remember what somebody says, but yeah.
Cheese is at the center of it all. Big cheese.
Yeah, the Al Capone of cheese. Yeah,
the International Cheese Syndicate.
I will say the Al Capone stuff is kind of interesting to me. Again, it feels a little bit like Pynchon kind of. Again, I don't want to say like getting nostalgic exactly, because obviously this is for before he was born, but like it's kind of this thing where it's like, oh, like there was like a more romantic era and like things are getting worse now.
Al Capone's in the pen. We had it with Al Capone.
Well, he was a character, he, and now the again, sort of like the market efficiency demands like, the FBI like become the jackboots of Herbert Hoover.
Well, and also the like organized crime is always referred to as the outfit. So it's like an organization. It's not like one guy. Because like that opening, which we didn't talk about, is so great though. When like they're at the Italian restaurant and a bomb goes off, and all the Italian gangsters just like look at each other like whose was it this time? Like it's such a great like opening. Like, but yeah, like even the criminals now are organizations. They're not romantic individuals. So.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if that's kind of what's going on with Bruno there, where it's like, oh, there can't be one guy at the head of the cheese conglomerate. Like it has to be, a syndicate. It has to be systematized and organized and hierarchized. We can't have an Al Capone of cheese.
Yeah, like they're like, the Al Capone type, like at least they're like local, like a community-based criminal. Whereas like these systems are just sort of like faceless entities that are all the more nefarious for it.
It's the animate world giving way to the inanimate world.
Ooh, there we go. It all goes back to V.
It really does.
So you guys just
we could have like a robot person in this book.
I know.
Yeah.
So you guys just read. Oh, and there's robots in Mason and Dixon too, or the robotic duck at least. He likes robots.
We did. So the idea was like we did like first, last, and then new. So we did V, Bleeding Edge, and now Shadow Ticket.
Wow. Okay.
To kind of try to like, as best we could, like kind of try to like encapsulate what the arc of Pynchon looks like, without trying to read every single thing, which would take us. Yeah, probably like 2 years of dedicated time on this podcast.
If you guys did that, that's ill-advised.
I mean, there's a podcast that does that, and they're not even halfway through his oeuvre. And I think they've been going for like over 3 years.
So, do you guys just read Bleeding Edge? I mean, I've not read that one in a while. I mean, which one did you prefer?
So I feel like reading I read like Shadow Ticket, and then I read Bleeding Edge, and I was like, I like Bleeding Edge a lot more.
Wow, okay.
And then I reread Shadow Ticket, and I think like John was saying, I feel like I usually the Pynchon rereads, you kind of get more of an idea of what he was going for. And so like I was a little more favorable on it, but like reading Bleeding Edge immediately after, it felt like I'm stealing this from somebody I read online where it was like Shadow Ticket was an underinflated baggy novel and Bleeding Edge is like the properly inflated baggy novel because it's like 450 pages. He's got time to do everything he wants to do. There's a lot of dialogue. But now that I've reread Shadow Ticket, I feel like I kind of know what he's going for. But I mean, Bleeding Edge was great. I feel like everybody was disappointed in it, and I feel like it's doing a lot of stuff that's good and it's worthy of reading. So
I would say I also like this one better. I didn't dislike Bleeding Edge. I like Bleeding Edge through a lot of it. I frankly found the ending to be a pretty big letdown. Like that one feels sentimental to me in a way like the ending of this one doesn't. Like that's the one where it feels like he's kind of like his conclusion is like, oh man, world's fucked up, but you know what? Damn, you sure love your kids.
Take the kids. Yeah, the kids are taking themselves to school now. So,
which like this one doesn't feel like a call to action. Like I don't know if Pynchon actually has it in him to like write agitprop. But this one definitely feels like it's ending on kind of a note. Again, not a hopeful note, but just like a note of like things could be different. Like again, just that moment of rupture, like the fact that where history is different. It's not like Bleeding Edge is this book that feels like it's all about like the lead up to the war on terror and like the great financial crisis and and obviously, in retrospect, we could say like leading up to Trump. I think in a way, not that we really talk about it like that, but this book kind of feels like, I don't know, there's the ending here is so much more interesting and I think has so much more, I don't know if it has more to say, but I feel like there's more to say about it in a way that like Bleeding Edge felt like kind of just a wet fart of an ending to me.
Well, and the Skeet Wheeler to Zoid Wheeler stuff where he's like, they're fulfilling there's a bit where like Hicks is like, I've heard couples like, making it on their own during the Depression, like, a lover of, what is it? It's like an army of lovers can succeed or something like that. Like it's more positive. And then like, he's actually trying it, Skeet is, but there's still like an implication that like, this isn't a fix for everything. Like as I mentioned in the summary, it's like, innocent and not guilty aren't exactly the same thing. It's what somebody says, but it's like, we're going to try anyway. Hope everything worked out. Like, and then he like signs off the letter, and like that letter plus the like what happens to Hicks is a lot more like not like I'm kind of ambiguous, but it's more interesting.
I like that. I mean, I think based on my memory of Bleeding Edge, I think I like this one more. I think Bleeding Edge is like my least favorite of his. And it's funny too, like Skeet will have Zoid, and then Zoid, I mean, because Vineland has a very similar sort of thesis to this novel, which is like, our best attempts fail, and then we just sort of flail about. Did you guys talk about One Battle After Another on here?
I don't think we did a proper discussion of it.
I just watched it again. It's so good.
I actually still need to see it. I actually did not know until like this week when another podcast does to Know Your Enemy. Shout out to Matt and Sam did an episode on it. I did not know it was technically a Vineland adaptation.
I mean, very loose. Like, I would almost recommend like seeing it before you read the book. I mean, they're so wildly different. But
supposedly he asked Pynchon if it was okay to change it, and Pynchon said So
I was just surprised he even went to Pynchon at all. Like he could have just made that exact movie and not have to get the rights to the book.
Just been like, oh yeah, I was reading Vineland and like I had a lot of, gave me a lot of ideas.
Like it. I was shocked he went through Pynchon, but.
Well, I wonder if it had to do with like, because supposedly there's a rumor that Pynchon is either in or they filmed parts of Inherent Vice at Pynchon's old house.
Cool.
And so I think he was like pretty closely consulting with him in some ways for Inherent Vice. And then like, I guess because he wanted to be respectful, he's like, hey, can I change this? Which like, I think I mentioned to John, I feel like this is One Battle is better because I think he's a little too like, I got to make sure I get this right. And it's better that he just changed it the way he wanted to.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I totally agree.
I also wonder if maybe there's just kind of like a, paying respect to the master kind of thing there. It's like, let me make sure the old man gets a payday.
Yeah. And also it's probably the only way you get to talk to Pynchon. It's like if you're optioning his book.
I mean, I'm assuming at this point, him and PTA like probably have like, at least like contact through their agents.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I dug up a while ago. There's like a Michael Chabon story of meeting Pynchon, and he like, it was like after Against the Day came out, and he took Pynchon to like a steak place, and he just said like Pynchon did not want to talk about his books. He wanted to talk about 80s television shows.
That's awesome.
And that's like basically Chabon's report of the hangouts. Like,
that's so cool.
It's just
Pynchon
so funny.
Absolutely strikes me as one of those guys who like when he is like in the process of writing something, it's all he thinks about for like a couple years. And then as soon as like that final draft is with like the publishing house, he never wants to talk about it again. He doesn't read reviews of his own work. He doesn't do book tours or anything like that. It's just like, I'm done with that. That's the old shit. I'm on to the new shit.
Yeah. He just turns on the TV and
it's like, oh man, I gotta watch like 50 episodes of Woody Woodpecker cartoons so I can remember. I don't remember which one has the ad for this soap that I need to reference in my next book.
Yeah. Man, when I was reading this one, I was like, being Thomas Pynchon's editor would be such an interesting thing. Like, I mean, God bless whoever it is. I mean, his wife is his agent, I know, and so I'm sure she gives him some input. But like, how would you even go about like editing Pynchon?
Yeah, it's like at what point do you say, do we need this tangent or not?
It must be a very special person with that job.
I almost have to wonder if it's like a team of people and there's like one person who's like reading for like the ear, one person who's like reading to be like, okay, does continuity make sense here?
Yeah.
One person's like confirming all the historical details are like accurately represented.
Because they have those people at, publishing out, like, they send you your copy edits and there's always someone that's like, oh, actually, this book is set in 2005 or whatever, and this thing didn't come out till 2000. And so, like, you can't really do that with him.
Yeah, it's like, or do you tell the person, yeah, I meant that.
You give them no, and then the man gets to be like, yeah, that was on purpose. Thank you, though.
I know, it'd be so humiliating. You get email back, it's like, yeah, I know. Pynchon's like, I'm smarter than you.
Either that or it's like a friend of his who's like even smarter than him and like just doesn't write though. It's just like
some weirdo in New York City.
Weird brain. Weird brained guy.
Yeah. I listened to part of the V episode, and John, you described Pynchon as magpie brained, which I think is like the best description I've ever heard. It's so true.
As someone else whose brain just like holds on to like random pieces of trivia far more than like things like are actually like, I barely remember like my parents' phone numbers, but I can tell you a lot about soap from the 50s. Well, do we have anything else we want to hit on with Shadow Ticket? I feel like it's been kind of an odd meandering episode for kind of an odd meandering book.
Well, I feel like that's happened with each one of the Pynchon episodes. It's like at some point we just kind of like are like, well, we're just going to talk about this in a freewheeling way. So,
I think you either have to do it like this or you have to do it like the actual like Thomas Pynchon podcast is, where they go like chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
I mean, like I mentioned, I was part of that reading group and we did Vineland, and I mean, conversations are about his novels just turn into like, yeah, that thing was cool that he did. And I think that's fine.
Well, I think there's just like an element where even again, these short ones, there's so much here that it's just kind of impossible to like even provide like a kind of a cursory glance. Like you really just have to, you're always going to be like skimming the surface unless you're being incredibly deliberate about how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's also why that Ryan Ruby review is good, because he was like, yeah, the New York Times said this doesn't apply. And then he just like very carefully looks under each reference and is like, oh, this could be about like temp work. Like this could be about like capitalist monopolization. And then he's the one who pointed out that it's the business plot the actual attempted coup on Roosevelt, which like, interestingly enough, Pynchon doesn't signal. I think you might have pointed out, TJ, that he does a pretty good job of like signaling when something is real and something when isn't real. But then for the business plot, he doesn't. Which again, it could be like an opposite like thing trying to obfuscate. But like Ryan Ruby pointed that out, and I was like, oh, holy crap! So like sometimes it's good to like have somebody point out those references because like you're not going to get them, unless somebody's helping. So.
Yeah, like I mean, me and Ben were texting about what are the baby boxes or whatever in Shadow Ticket.
The straw boxes.
Boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's so clear that was real because like he goes so far out of his way to include like pretty vivid descriptions of them.
Yeah, John, I spent like maybe a day thinking about the straw boxes, and then I like looked them up, and there's like an exhibit of the straw box at like the Milwaukee Museum, and I was telling TJ, I'm like, he probably just went there, because that's the bit where they talk about people leave babies in the straw boxes in Milwaukee because it's like warm because there's straw on the ground, and the policeman will like sit there when it's cold. So
it's just like the least surprising thing that like Thomas Pynchon is in Milwaukee for who knows what reason. And he's like looking at things to do. It's like, I'm going to go to the Straw Box Museum. This will be useful.
But I feel like there's a letter, I don't remember when, but he's talking about reading Spanish or learning Spanish so he can read Borges. And he says something like, he's like, well, if you're going to read a guy, you might as well do him the favor of reading him in his own language. And he says that like offhandedly. And I feel like that's like his approach to research, where he's just like, I'm just going to go there and look at it. So
yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, it's got to be nice to have again seen fucking Boeing doing like industrial espionage by accident in the 50s when you're an intern, and just kind of being given enough money that you never have to think about it again, so you can just do this for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Don't want to get sued by Boeing. That would be a great boost for the podcast. Get a lawsuit from Boeing talking about Pynchon.
The only thing is that probably like Thomas Pynchon would not let it go forward.
Yeah.
Well, if we're kind of coming to a wrap up here, TJ, Ben has mentioned you have written a book. Would you like to tell us anything about it?
Yeah, I got some books out there. The first book was Reign of the Kingfisher. It's a superhero novel in Chicago. Second one just came out this year. It has a loose Pynchon connection, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I was looking for a new agent with this one, and I emailed Thomas Pynchon's wife, who is his agent. Why can't I remember her name right? Melissa Jackson or something. And she emailed me back and she was like, this is really cool. I like this, but I'm not taking on any clients. And I was like, well, you should just dump your husband. And he doesn't need an agent. He's fine. But
you don't understand, Melissa. Don DeLillo read my manuscript and he was so impressed. He never wrote back to me.
Actually, I think she might represent DeLillo. Which I'm sure drives.
That was this lady must be impressive. She can handle both of those guys.
Oh my god, yeah, she must be a saint. She was super nice. But so yeah, that one's Her New Eyes. That just came out in May. It's kind of like an absurdist, weird novel. And then I got another one coming out next June, Blood River, which pre-orders aren't available yet, but just keep refreshing Amazon and someday.
The cover looks very dope. So
yeah, excited.
What is that one? I like what kind of book is that?
I mean,
going to be?
I've been describing it as like fan fiction of like the first season of True Detective.
Okay. So kind of like a horror, crime, thriller sort of thing.
Some occult stuff.
Cool.
It's like a straight up detective novel.
Sick. Hell yeah.
Cool.
Which was super fun. I mean, yeah. Not Pynchon.
Once that's out, maybe we'll have to have you on to talk about that.
I would love to. It
is in the wheelhouse, so yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, cool. It's I mean, it was. I love Cormac McCarthy. You know, withstanding certain
withstanding certain allegations.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if we'd call them allegations. That as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, damn, that's like pretty obviously true. But like, so the novel has some of those influences. I think it's fun. I mean, I'm as a person, I'm not influenced by McCarthy. I'm spiraling.
I just think he's a role model. I don't like the writing. I just think that he
never read his books.
Really
just,
cool.
Just a big fan.
Well, we should also plug. You also have a TikTok where you talk about books as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. TJ Martinson writes books on TikTok where I talk about stuff about writing, but I mean like beefs between writers. There's a video on Pynchon and his. Well, I don't know if he has beef with them, but everything that happened with the Pulitzer for Rainbow.
Yeah, that's there's a great bit where Gass just talks about being so disappointed that happened. Like William Gass is like, it should have clearly won, but anyway,
William Gass. We'll talk about the most insufferable person. I mean, I like William Gass, but I mean that's where we get that great Pynchon quote of like, why should things be easy to understand or whatever. After that Pulitzer brouhaha.
Yeah.
Gass has what I call like Harold Bloom. He has like the literary hut look.
Yeah,
where it's like, just Jabba the Hutt in a tweed blazer.
And let's throw like Frederick Jameson in that too. Yeah.
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 There's a quote where he's like Gass is like, yeah, you know, people read too quickly these days. They eat too quickly too. Yeah, so it's like, all right. Like,
do they, William?
Yeah.
Talk about projection. If you've not read it, read William Gass's, I think it's like 1972, Philosophy in the Form of Fiction.
It's great. Yeah, I love it.
It's the essay where he coins metafiction. But it's also like the most unhinged like manifesto.
Yeah, he is great though, because he's just like, I'm gonna basically write whatever I want while I'm making an argument. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Noted. I have not read that yet, so I'm gonna have to pick that up.
It's well worth it. He's like, philosophy sucks now, it's stupid. And fiction's great.
Well, you know, perhaps I am biased, but agreed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course.
I also like that he said I write very slowly because I write badly, which is just a very funny line just to say in general, because like he's so like meticulous. It's like.
Well, if you guys ever do The Tunnel by Gass.
Oh man, we could. It's a lot though.
It would be painful, but I would get back into it.
Sick.
I think we talked about doing that as like kind of an experimental episode where like Ben would read the book, I listened to the audiobook. Since that's like Gass reading it himself, and then we'd kind of like compare notes based on like those two very different reading experiences.
That would be incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be pretty dope. I would be down to read it again. So
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, TJ, unfortunately, that means you would have to do both, so that it could be even.
I'll just follow along while I listen to it. I come in like on the Zoom, just cross-eyed.
Yeah, I got one in one ear and I'm reading. Yeah.
Left earbud, Mozart being played at 2 times speed. Right earbud, The Tunnel by William Gass in Mandarin Chinese.
Perfect. Yeah. It's,
all of a sudden, like you're like Neo from the Matrix. You're like, I know kung fu.
Yeah,
that's what happens from that combination.
Oh man, well. TJ, thanks so much for joining us. This was an incredible pleasure.
Yeah,
we'll definitely have to have you on the pod again sometime.
Absolutely, anytime.
Cool. Well, listeners, thanks for joining us. We have one more episode for this, our fall winter 2025 season. So join us back in 2 weeks to talk about we're really switching up. We're going to be talking about Joan Didion.
Yeah, play it as it lays. So
as it lays. So, Ben, why don't you play it as it lays and take us on out of here?
Semper Books.
Semper Books.
Thank you for listening to The Infinite Library. If you liked our show, we hope you'll subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the podcast app of your choice. It helps us a lot. If you want to follow us on social media, we can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Infinite Library Pod. If you'd like to contact our team directly with episode ideas or feedback, you can email us at infinitelibrarypod@gmail.com. Our intro music is by Amos Legend in the Forest of Mayhem. Our outro music is by DJ Daggy Diggs, and our logo was created by Lars Noir.